Okay, well, I have not done a do one. I like to do them only really if I have something I feel I want to talk about. And today I thought I'd talk about what happens when you move to a new place sometimes and how that new place can have baggage. And I'll share a little bit with how we dealt with it because our new place has baggage. If you follow me on Instagram, or us, I should say, me and the crow. If you follow us on Instagram, you know that this place was a church at one time. About, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or so. And I don't think it was a church very long, because I have a feeling that the church didn't work out here very well. Maybe wasn't the greatest church scenario. But to have somebody like us move in here with our different spiritualities, complete polarity when it comes to Christianity, I have a feeling there was some things that didn't like us very much when we came here. But really the biggest thing of coming here is an elemental that resides here. And the crow and I talked about moving to this area, and we knew that we would have issues like this. We knew it, especially with the land, because I've always felt that this area suffered a lot a long time ago, probably with Native Americans. And this land, I think, was very sacred. There are ledges here nearby. That's as we live on Ledge Road. And the ledges are sacred to the Native Americans, I believe. No one has told me that, but I feel it in my gut. And I don't know the history, but I do know that in my job that I worked for nearly 16 years in this county, I crisscrossed this county all day long, all week long, for years. And I knew it by hand. I say knew it because I haven't worked since 2012. But I knew it by the back of my hand. I could drive these roads blindfolded. And the very first case I had to deal with was here in this town on this very road. And in fact, some of my worst animal cruelty cases were actually in this town. So I already knew. I had a strange feeling the first day I came to this town many, many years ago. I thought, what an odd place and what an odd feeling it gives you. And I think a lot of it has improved, and there's been a lot of positive things brought into this area in the last few years, and I think it's helped it a great deal. And you know, do I think it can heal? Absolutely. But as far as us and the property we're responsible for, we have an elemental here on the property. And that's basically what I wanted to talk about pretty much today, was elementals and how to deal with them. What is an elemental? That's kind of hard to explain. And the fastest and easiest way I think I have to explain it is, if you think of the elements that are the driving force of our world as having a spirit, then each element has a spirit, and it's attached to the land. And when the land suffers tragedy and trauma and negative in large doses, it can cause a piece of that spirit to break away. And that becomes an elemental, which is like a living being, really. And an elemental can do a lot of damage, and if an elemental is angry, you're gonna suffer. So, we suffered a little bit when we first came here. I even had to call an ambulance at one point. So, there was a little bit of suffering here. Not a lot, and mostly everybody but me was kind of oblivious to it because they're very busy with buying their first home and getting moved in and all that. In the meantime, I'm the one picking up all the juju around here. There is also, or I say there was, also a very smart alecky spirit that I think might have been connected to the place when it was a church, and had some big resentment towards this room in particularly. And I don't like to repeat the name because it like gives it power, but it has no power at this point because there are barriers up. But it called itself Blackheart, and it was being a smarty pants, basically. And it wanted me to be scared. And I think the same entity showed itself, or spirit showed itself to the crow one night in her room, crouching on top of her dresser. And she saw it with her, she had her legs up, laying in bed with her legs crossed, up in the, you know, your knees bent and legs crossed. And she moved her legs to one side and she saw it. And she thought, oh, that's just the shadow of something on my dresser, again, with the TV on, you know. But when she moved her leg the other way to the other side, that shadow was gone. And it just made her kind of snicker because it was trying to actually be creepy and scare her, and her reaction was to kind of go, you know, like that. And so the two most intuitive people in the house have definitely felt the juju here. So, you know, we've finally finished the room. What happened, what really went wrong, the crow and I talked about this. We knew we would have stuff like this to deal with in this area, and especially right here. And we knew it, and we had a plan, but we didn't stick to our plan because we got caught up in all the moving distraction and drama, and you know how stressful moving is. We got caught up in that, and we did not get this room set up quickly. It's been nearly 6 weeks that we finally got it set up, and for 6 weeks there's been stuff having its way with us, and that's now, you know, under control. So I feel good about that. And I feel secure here, and our room is wonderful, and we love it. And I've already done some work in here, and it's very powerful and very positive. So we feel good about that, and we feel good about where we are with things. Now, going back to the elemental. How do you get rid of an elemental? Well, you don't, because you don't have, I don't care how powerful a witch you are, you don't have the ability to banish an elemental. You can set up some boundaries, absolutely. And what we're doing, the approach that we're taking, is we have offering stones on the property, and we are making offerings to the elemental. So just to show, and this is to follow up with our conviction that we will take care of the land and respect it, and to show that our integrity towards that and our promise of it, we leave a little offering every so often on our offering stones for the elemental, just to show that we do have respect and that we can coexist here. And that's about all you can do with an elemental, because they are, if one happens to develop in an area where it is actually a living separate being from the spirit of the element, you know, that's a huge thing. People can get hurt, people can die. And well, there's going to be some who listen to this and go, oh, pish posh, what a bunch of ridiculousness. But that's how all of us spiritual people in this way that have the path like this are treated, basically, by the world and by science. You know, that we're ding-dongs and we're weirdos and we believe in silly, stupid things. But just because you don't believe doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So that's the way I look at it. Now, other people may have different feelings about an elemental and beliefs, and that's fine. This is strictly my opinion, my experience. It's not written in stone. So if you disagree with it, that's fine. You're allowed to disagree. You can have your own opinion. But if you also have a reason to try to understand this, or you're dealing with an issue that maybe be affecting you, then maybe this might help somebody. You never know. There's a lot of unexplained things that happen in the world every day. The world is full of mysteries, and science teaches scientific people to only go by what your five senses tell you. But people like us know that there's a sixth sense, and culturally we've been taught to ignore that and to think of it as stupid and fairy tale stuff. Or we've been taught to, and the majority I think, been taught to think that it comes from something ungodly, unholy, and you will go burn in hell if you have anything to do with it. And for us, not having anything to do with it is like cutting off one of your fingers. It's a part of your senses every bit as much as your sense of hearing and sight and smell and touch and taste. Those five senses are important, and so is the sixth one. In fact, that sixth one everybody experiences at one time or another. Everybody, I don't care who you are, has had that feeling in their gut that said, this isn't good, this isn't gonna turn out well, I shouldn't do it. And that's your third eye. That comes from your third eye, the seat of your intuition, and it's telling you, trying to help you. You know, I have found that every time I did not listen to that voice inside, that I got screwed. Usually pretty bad. So that's my take on it. Like I said, it's my opinion, my experience. Doesn't necessarily mean it's yours. But that's how we've been dealing with the situation we've had on hand. And I think we're good now. I think we're really good. We have, I'll show you again, if you didn't see it on the little short video, we have all our stuff out now, our important things, and just a little skim around the room. My stereo is old and broken, and it barely works, so I'm going to get a new one. I think I might have mentioned that. If I didn't, I'll be able to play the CDs in here, which I love to do. But this is like the altar that we built, and it's got a big work table here, because it's a big dining room table, actually, with the leaf sitting right here, and then our slabs of marble that make up the altar area. So we can do workings here, we can make stuff here, we can do regular mundane stuff here if we have to, but we could also have our holiday dinners here and everything. And so this room is going to be like our favorite room for sure. We definitely love it. We love the way it turned out, and we love how it feels in here. It's been set up and ready to go for a couple days now, and I've done a couple days worth of work in here. Setting up boundaries and protection for the house and cleansing it of what we don't want here. And it feels really good now. Really good. So even despite the hot weather that we've been having, which I don't know if I've showed that much, but that's our front yard. You can see the leaves are blowing backwards, so the rain is coming, and my bones also say that so. And that's a dirt road out there in front of the house. I'm not kidding you when I tell you we live in BFE. We have a couple pear trees in the yard, which is kind of cool. And it's like a horseshoe driveway here in front of the house. And then the bulk of the property, you know, is in the back, and there's an enormous woods back there that goes with our property. Which someday, you know, the kids are going to have to go through it. I can't make my way through the density of it, and they'll have to find the deer trails out there to start making some places where you can walk in the woods. We don't want to disturb it too much, as that's our agreement with the land, that we don't disturb it and that we keep it clean and nice and take care of it. And we leave grass, some grass, a good part of the grass a little longer, and the woods, you know, for the wildlife to have, and we won't disturb that very much because we don't want to disturb the natural world going on on the property. And I think if we live like that, we can live with an elemental sharing space with us. Since I've done workings, I have not seen it, and neither has the crow. When you see it, you don't see the whole thing. I just saw like a piece, and I didn't really say anything because I wasn't sure. And then when I was talking with the crow, I was trying to explain to her what I saw, and she was literally finishing my sentences. We said it was tan, both at the same time, and I realized at that point she had seen exactly what I had seen. And she had actually seen a little more of it than I did. Really, I saw like an arm. It was light tan, and it really resembled like a tree branch, and it had gone by my bedroom window, which is really high up. If you walk by my window, your head would barely show. It's up in the air, you know. You can't just walk up and peek in my window. So this thing was huge. It was really, really tall. And there was definitely movement to it. And that was something the crow saw. She saw like a sliver of the side body of it, and very, very tall. She also noted it was tan in color and had movement to it, like walking. There was like a stride to it. It's really hard to explain things like that. Number one, because it's not comfortable. It's not comfortable to explain it. And two, it's not what you see with your naked eye, really. You know, you're really seeing that with your third eye, and it doesn't resemble sight. Just like when you hear something that isn't of the five senses, it sounds like it's coming through like a tunnel, or I don't know exactly how to explain it. It's sound, but it's not ambient sound. It comes from another dimension, basically. It's coming from something that your five senses are not going to pick up. So that's the only way I can explain an elemental. And I hope this helps somebody. I hope if someone else is having problems, they can draw something from it. It doesn't always have to be a problem. It can be something that you can resolve and live with. But as I say, you're not going to banish it. You're not going to dissipate it. You're not. It's just not something that, you know, is your average thing. And I'm a strong believer that there are many things that come into our atmosphere. There are many things that are not human, that have never lived a human life and have never had a corporeal body. And they're different kinds of beings. Their journeys are completely different, but there are portals that allow these crossovers to happen. And, you know, an area like this, I think, is very open to that kind of thing, and would definitely have a portal there. And, you know, there are some people who are like a beacon, and they draw that. They're spirits that want to communicate with something here on this plane of existence are going to see these beacons, these people that are beacons to them, and they flock to those people because they can be heard by them and felt by them and seen by them. And they can communicate sometimes very, very freely with people like that. So these things happen, and you know, when other people look at you like you're some kind of whack job, I just kind of smile, and I'm happy that I'm one of those people that is open enough to understand what the world is really about. And I'm sure there's others that feel that way too. Feel, you know, kind of grateful that you're not closed up like that. And, you know, you don't want to be too open, because you don't want to subject yourself to the negativity that goes with it, because as much as there is good in the world, there is also bad in the world. So you don't want to open yourself up to some of these beings that might not have your best interest at heart, and might be, you know, trying to use you for your energy and your life force. And that's not something you want to give away. So not being too open, that might be a discussion for another day, how to have those kind of boundaries up around yourself so that you're not open so far that you can get hurt or taken advantage of. But that's really about what I had to say today, and what's been going on. And I've been kind of quiet on social media because there just has been a lot to deal with. And I haven't been making jewelry, although I've gotten some beautiful new rainbow moonstone that is just screaming to have something done with it. And I will get back to that. I'm going to. I just need to settle down and settle into the new environment we've created here, the new calmer environment. And, you know, things will settle down a little bit. And I think the more I use our new room here, the better everything's going to feel too. So there we go. All right, I'm going to end this now. I hope this helps someone along the way. And if you have any questions ever, feel free to ask. You can find me on The Raven and Crow is on Facebook, and it is on Instagram, and of course Twitter. We're also on Tumblr, or Tinder. Is it not Tumblr? For goodness sake. Well, you can tell I'm old. That's really stupid. Anyway, I don't really pay a full attention to Google Plus and all those other things, but I do post routinely on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Okay? So, if you need to ask any questions, feel free. You can go through those resources to do it. And I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful rest of the week and weekend coming up. So bye for now.